Ministra Cornejo, expreso mi agradecimiento a usted y a su gobierno por la maravillosa conferencia y por su ser anfitriones, y a la señora Margaret por liderazgo y representación. Esta conferencia ha sido ejemplar. Muchas gracias.
Friends, good afternoon. At the Caribbean regional level, implementation of the Enhanced Comprehensive Disaster Management Strategy 2007 to 2012, which was agreed to and adopted by all member states within the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management grouping, has contributed significantly to the HFA implementation process. At the end of that implementation period, SEDIMA undertook a review process to identify emerging gaps for input into the HFA review process, including a broad range of Caribbean stakeholder consultations, from civil society, national disaster offices, local governments, administrations, civil society groups, scientific community, the private sector, and regional organizations. The review process indicated that the SEDIMA system realized progress in two key areas. There was an overall progress in the mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction at the sectoral level. Targeted sectors included health, education, and agriculture. Second, the enabling environment for the implementation of comprehensive disaster management has been strengthened through the development of model national comprehensive disaster management policy, legislation, strategy, and work on legislation and policy has been advanced in several participating states and remains a priority for action in others. Based on the above, the SEDIMA proposes the following three messages to inform the post-2015 disaster risk reduction agenda. One, the first message is to embrace the opportunity for Caribbean leadership in the post-2015 disaster risk reduction agenda through established regional mechanisms such as the CDM strategy. This was one of the key outcomes of the Caribbean regional consultations on the HFA. In December 2013, SEDIMA launched the CDM strategy for the next 10-year period, dating 2014 to 2024, and is in the process of developing associated implementation plans and a performance monitoring framework to facilitate its effective implementation. In this regard, a priority area to inform the international discourse is the need for strengthened accountability to be achieved by enhanced results-based programming and monitoring. As SEDIMA develops the monitoring, evaluation, and reporting system for the CDM strategy, we will be seeking to develop shared indicators which will simplify the process for countries in the region to report on the HYOGA framework of action post-2015. This monitoring and evaluation system will also be a means to ensure accountability of the CDM partners for the delivery of results under the CDM strategy and for measuring the impact of our investments and initiatives. The second message is to support the joint pursuit of the post-2015 HYOGA framework of action and post-2015 sustainable development agenda, and to advocate for an integrated risk management approach which brings together the elements of disaster risk reduction, adaptation to climate change, disaster risk financing, and development planning within the overarching context of resilience. The UN Special Representative of the Secretary General for DRR in the document proposed elements for consideration captures this succinctly. Sustainable development goals cannot be achieved without managing disaster risk. The UNISDR advocates for disaster risk reduction as an instrument for sustainable development, as natural hazards such as earthquakes, cyclones, hurricanes, floods, landslides, and drought volcanoes pose significant threats to achieving and sustaining development goals. The third message and final message is that the agenda of small island development states remains a relevant consideration in the financing of post-2015 disaster risk reduction agenda. It is not disputed that in the case of the small island development states, single hazard events can erase decades of development, and we've witnessed this in the context of Grenada, in the context of Ivan, in Haiti, in the context of the 2010 earthquake, and in Montserrat. In conclusion, as we approach the end of the implementation of the HYOGA framework of action, it is important that we ensure that discussions on the way forward for post-2015 adequately reflects the achievements, experiences, concerns of the Caribbean region with respect to disaster risk reduction. For us, the global approach to addressing disaster risk is not simply a matter of academic interest, The growth and development of our nations and communities and the security of our future generations depend upon it. SEDIMA supports the ideas of the Hyogo Framework of Action and the Communique of Guayaquil as it is aligned with the ideals of the CDM system. Thank you very much.
Gracias. Nos faltan 4 declaraciones.
Thank you. We still have 4 more declarations to go. Please, let's try to keep them to the 5 minutes. Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you very much. Sorry I'm late. We had to go and buy some stuff in Guayaquil to take home. The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago wishes to thank the UN ISDR Regional Office and the government and people of Ecuador for facilitating this event. The National Disaster Office in Trinidad and Tobago falls under the Ministry of National Security. It is the national platform for managing DRR and climate change risks. In an attempt to mainstream DRR and make it a national and local priority, the National Disaster Office has strategically established a National Disaster Risk Reduction Committee. An interministerial committee for DRR also exists as an extension to this platform. Over the year, since my last statement in Chile, we have improved our business processes within the National Disaster Office. We have achieved a greater engagement with all the key stakeholders with a special reference to the scientists in the country, the insurance agencies, as well as our special needs populations. We have developed stronger strategic alliances. We have increased the situational awareness on a 24-hour basis of all our major risks and threats. We have had a greater focus by our population on the benefits of preparing for emergencies, and we have increased the branding of the National Disaster Office. Hyogo 1. There has been over 86 meetings of the National Disaster Committee over the last year with 120 hours of engagement. It is led by the private sector and includes representatives from public, private, and civil society, academic institutions, and professional bodies. 50 to 60% of our set targets have been achieved in this regard. Action 2. The main input, amongst others, into the overall enhancement of our risk management and early warning system has been the introduction of a National Operations Center and a Situational Awareness Center that also provides a 911 system to integrate all calls for emergencies. We have achieved 60% of our targets in this action. Action 3. Our main focus this year, including others, were CORE, our Communities Organized and Ready for Emergencies program. If you go on YouTube and you type ODPM official, you can have a lot more information on CORE. It is basically our methodology, our tool, our brand to meet with the persons in the homes, in the pueblos, at their homes themselves. We have introduced a 511 customer care center, which allows us to have customer service to follow up on all emergencies of persons who complain of problems related to disasters or emergencies in Trinidad and Tobago. 40 to 50% of our targets have been achieved. Action 4, most important item in Action 4 over the years has been our involvement with the private sector businesses and the use of their statutory board meetings to meet with them and engage. Action 5, the National Operations Center has given us a new trust in fusion, interoperability, and multi-sectoral coordination in our response, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities. 50 to 60% of our targets have been met. Over the past decade, commendable strides have been made on a national level to mainstream DRR into the developmental planning process, supported by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. General issues have emerged due to poor institutional arrangements and outdated legislation. To add to these issues, disaster risk management are sometimes hindered by limited data availability, financial constraints, and knowledge transfer issues. There's been an overall acceleration of achievements, and an average of 56% of our set targets have been met over the last year. And finally, the ODPM, or the National Disaster Office, envisions itself as the conduit for practical connections between DRM and CCA, which can result in sustainable development. In fact, the institution will continue to mainstream DRR sector-wide while reinforcing the need to rehabilitate rather than recover simply from disasters, with a special emphasis on incorporating mitigative mechanisms towards building national and community resilience, especially with the scientists and with our risk transfer mechanisms. This approach espouses the recommendations put forward by the enhanced CDM strategy and the HFA and beyond. We do this as we aim to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Thank you very much.
Por favor, se preenac para su declaración. Gracias.
I'm very pleased to greet and salute all of the delegations of the different countries and nations that are here present this morning. The government of Ecuador, we thank the government of Ecuador, we thank the officers of the UNISDR who are participating at the fourth regional platform for disaster risk reduction of the Americas. Thank you to all the successful management and coordination, which shows the importance and relevance of the risk management for the adequate development of our South Latin American region, where Central America is immersed. In the context of the Central American Alliance for Development, the governments of Central America have coincided in convergence of working on a common agenda that will lead to the development of a business and competitive climate in the region. In this agenda, the priority action areas are, as identified, are the attraction to productive investment, promoting international competition and commerce, improving the infrastructure and integration in customs and environmental actions, among others. And all of this involves risk management, and for Central America to be better prepared to respond to all natural disasters and tropic events. And in this, faced with this reality, we have developed processes to consolidate its capacities in risk management and adverse effects of disasters, to approach and risk in a integral manner. And we have improved the technical systems, and we've also incorporated social institutions, economic, environmental institutions to consolidate an interinstitutional focus and intersectorial for approaching the risk reduction. We've also promoted a constant adaptation of laws and policies that consolidate the national systems for risk management. And we've also made available all technical resources and cooperation for equipment and research, cooperation and technologies from the different sectors, and to lead management actions, risk management actions, and especially in the disaster risk management in all its phases. We recognize the importance to have mechanisms, regional, local, national, and work with international organizations to consolidate the mutual cooperation, mutual aid mechanisms, to include Central America task manuals of the foreign ministers of foreign relations and other humanitarian aid systems, and the academia as well. Also, we're developing processes to integrate the variables of risk management and public investment with applications that are pilot programs in high-risk areas, and recovery post-disaster strategies are included in the national models to manage risk um, with a gender focus in local governments, and including representatives of the civil society, thus strengthening the vision of frontline. Also, ordinary meetings of heads of state and government will acknowledge the paradigm of an integral management of the climate change risk, and to have a permanent dialogue or mechanism on these issues and between the isthmus and the international community to understand the issues and the concerns. Adaptation to climate change and integral management of risk are important and priority issues on the agendas of the Central American presidents. And are also important to the integration process. And then in this regard, it has been adopted and it is being progressively implemented. And we're talking about the national policies for risk reduction and to reduce vulnerability and risk, as well as to increase our levels of adaptation. From our modest point of view and as regional contributors and in our greatest competency in this area of risk management, we trust and we expect that for the global conference on disaster reduction for 2015 in Japan, in March in Japan, we will be able to offer a very interesting three-pronged issue: climate change, disaster management, and and it should be a framework for safe development and sustainable development. And I have to thank the community and the United Nations for the efforts and their contribution to Central American countries, which we have implemented in Central America within the framework of HYOGO, and their support we have lent to them and the support that they have given us for our programs, and thanks to the policies and national plans that we can now coordinate. Thank you very much.
Reu, por favor.
Reu, please, you have the floor. Head of the Regional Office of UNISDR, Ricardo Mena, and the Minister of Risk Management of Ecuador, María Pilar Cornejo. Good morning to all. During the summit of Mercosur of Asociación Paraguay carried out in July 2009, the presidents and foreign affairs ministers of the region decided to express their position regarding the problem of risk management and humanitarian assistance, and they created a specialized meeting for the reduction of natural disasters, civil risks, civil protection and humanitarian protection, REU. The presidents of Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay approved a specific declaration that acknowledged that with the increase of disasters in the region, there is a need to disseminate, have a more agile response and greater prevention of this phenomenon. The leaders agreed on the importance of the HYOGO framework of action and expressed their interest in including local risk management in the public agency of the countries of the sub-region, promoting organized assistance so that all of the beneficiaries can participate in prevention and mitigation of disasters. Likewise, they decided to establish an institutional mechanism to coordinate, cooperate, and discuss that will allow to make the sub-regional experiences systematic and obtain mechanisms to prevent and diminish the effects of disasters, as well as generating permanent institutional relationships between those organizations that work in this issue. In 2013, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela was formally included in REU as a member state of Mercosur, thus opening up the potential of this integration process. National coordinations of REU are carried out by the competent authorities to tend to emergencies and risk management, together with the organizations of the ministries of foreign affairs that coordinate international humanitarian assistance. Likewise, REU has a technical secretariat that supports the pro tempore chairmanship, which at the moment is under the Republic of Argentina. From its creation, our countries sustained that disasters are not natural, even when the event that takes place is natural, as exposition to threats and vulnerability are always social constructions. with this perspective, if there is something that is not natural, it is precisely the disaster itself. Identifying social and environmental factors that determine a situation of risk opens up the possibility of managing it in different stages and with different strategies from an integrated perspective. Through REO, we have been able to increase levels of coordination between the national systems of risk management through information exchange and the promotion of activities that are allowing us to broaden the scope of action. The decision of the countries of carrying out a process of technical meetings with specialists from the 4 countries on different topics with the aim of moving forward in the exchange of experiences and creating shared proposals. It's a key example of Mercosur, and it is interested in working towards risk management and humanitarian assistance in times when disasters reoccur every day more frequently and every day are less natural. So REO is promoting joint initiatives in different topics, such as the integrated management of humanitarian input, management of hydric basins, a shared database, tackling trans-border problems, and the creation of a network of researchers on risk issues in Mercosur with the full knowledge of the importance that scientists and academia have for management of disaster risks. The representatives of REO would like to express some recommendations looking towards a new framework for the post-2015 period. We would like to reaffirm that the preparatory process to the 3rd Global Conference is timely to review the Hyogo Framework of Action and identify its main challenges and limitations, and for the results of the conference to be suitable to the realities of developing countries and coherent with their sustainable development agenda, looking towards a new social and economic development model that is environmentally sustainable in order to reduce disaster risk. We acknowledge that the vision of the Hyogo Framework of Action should strengthen the understanding that disasters are not natural, they are not exogenous, and thus the social structure focused on poverty and inequality are the main risks that our peoples are exposed to, and thus priorities of actions and strategic objectives should tackle the deep causes of vulnerability to these disasters through the coordination of actions, not only corrective and prospective, but also they must include the productive aspects, generating income and access to services and dignified housing in rural and urban areas. We would like to call on the 3rd conference to promote a new model of international cooperation for risk reduction based on cooperation with networks of training and dialogue. And finally, we would like to thank the people and government of the Republic of Ecuador for their joint effort in organizing this 4th session of the regional platform. Thank you very much. Thank you. UNASUR, I think you are the last participant.
The grand finale at the summit of Foreign Relations Minister of UNASUR on the 29th August in 2013 in Suriname. A committee was, a high-level group was created, and it was assigned to the government of Chile. The important task was to analyze the recommendations that the group of experts proposed as the basis for a task force to manage risk and disasters, and to put this on the high level priorities for the meeting held in Lima in 2013. It is important to see that the objectives are very aligned with the strategies that and the guidelines of the Hyogo and the international framework for disaster risk post 2015, detailed as follows: to contribute to reduce disaster risk through policies and strategies and plans, to promote activities that will work on the cycle of risks, and also exchanging experiences, and to establish cooperation mechanisms to coordinate national systems to try and forge ahead in adopting regional policies in everything that has to do an integral perspective. And up until now, several activities have been carried out to organize this challenging task, which has already completed one stage with the group task force in Santiago, with the meeting in Santiago in 2014, which early 2014, where they approved the lines of action and activities that ended up being in a guiding document for the PTP of UNISOR in terms of the risk management. And because of the amount necessary will need to be followed up. And amongst the important objectives, we highlight the creation of exchange capacity on a regional, local, and national levels, the developing information systems, promoting, monitoring, early warning, and specific plans for prevention, estimation, and disaster care. Also, a structure for social participation and promoting mutual assistance and disaster and um, adaptation to climate change, for promoting communities and also national policies for disasters and international cooperation for the risk management, and to promote ministerial agreements by UNISOR and the disaster risk management policies with all the practical applications. And within the first work meeting, a consultation was made to the countries of UNISOR as far as the new guidelines, and this was an activity that had Margareta Wallström on board as part of the meeting, and it became an important landmark in the disaster risk management and international strategies. And we hope that the future generations will be able to enjoy a more friendly, a more equitable, and a better planet with a better response capacity, and that the impact generated by the disasters will affect less the most vulnerable people. Thank you.